Douglas Murray once again articulates very clearly what is really so troubling about the hostage ceasefire arrangement here, and in the way people are praising Hamas for giving back hostages. He uses this analogy of you burn down your neighbor's house and you come running 10 hours later with a fire extinguisher to help put it out. Are we going to praise you now for bringing that fire extinguisher? You got to listen to how he articulates this in this interview.
I want to ask you about the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. We've already seen the first of some of the hostages being released. But Douglas, in your view, will this really ever truly end this war?
Well, it's very early to say. My expectation is no. I'm extremely pleased for the hostage families whose daughters were released. 3 women were released, of course, at the weekend. There has been an awful lot of praise of countries like Qatar in particular for helping to effect this release. There are still many scores of hostages in Gaza, an international array of hostages in Gaza who were stolen, kidnapped from their loved ones on October the 7th. And Hamas, in its unbelievable necrophilic style, is also holding on to the bodies of murdered hostages. And the Israeli negotiators are having to deal with talking about how to get dead bodies back from Hamas's clutches, as well as hopefully as many living hostages as possible. I think there are just 2 things quickly I would say about this. The first is that whether or not the war ends really relies on Hamas. Hamas could have stopped this war, and indeed it could have not started it. And that would have been a good idea, wouldn't it? But there's one other corner which does have to be highlighted, which is the role of Qatar. Qatar is one of the funders and hosts of Hamas. And it is galling to some of us to watch the praise being dished out to Qatar and the Emir at the moment. In my view, a rather perhaps old-fashioned and niche one at the moment, is that if you try to burn down your neighbor's house, then if you provide a fire extinguisher 15 months later, you shouldn't be enormously overpraised for your actions. And that's the situation that Qatar is in. They should be made to give all of the hostages back. None of the hostages should have been in Gaza in the first place. They were stolen, and it's high time that all of them were given back. And I hope the Trump administration will make it clear that that is its priority. So far, they've been very strong on that, but it requires regional partners to do their bit and not to play this double-dealing game that countries like Qatar have.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on as always. Douglas Murray, really good to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening.
I mean, Qatar has been a major problem because they dance on both sides of the fence. They are supporters of terrorism. Then they come here and show up as the peacemaker. The key point is that since October 7th, Hamas has not been held accountable for the hostages, innocent individuals that they have taken as hostage. And now they're being applauded for giving back the hostages. The outrage is just unbelievable.